Hello and welcome. Today we've got Sonya Nagy and we'll be discussing how truth is like us and people waking up can overcome fear and come over all of these lies and where we're going in the future. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Telegram channel and to nicholasveniamin.com. I will also leave Sonya Nagy's links below in the description as well, so you can follow her, you can check her out, etc. And also, if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview. Sonya, thank you so much for joining me. What's happening? What is going on?
Yeah, well, it seems that the world is just going crazier rather than coming into more sanity. And, I have several clients reaching out to me with where they're located, they're amping up the regulations, and you need these passes, and if you don't have the vaccination and all of this, and it's causing a lot of fear and how to navigate through that. And the first thing I want to say into that is, yes, this is real, and I don't want to downplay the experience for anyone into this is happening. People in our homes are getting vaccinated, and we don't choose that for ourselves. And how do we be in that? How do we come through that, especially with the vaccination being not even vaccination, being these nanotechnologies that we know are in there?
Absolutely. And please carry on, please.
And we were born in this time to process through this time. And I just want to, we live and die by our beliefs. And please hear me. We live and die by our beliefs. And if we think we're going to be taken out by this, then we're inviting that reality into our experience. And it's very important that we manage our beliefs as the cyborgs come into our experience more frequently. And this is the conversation that my clients are bringing to me is I'm having these experiences, and these people who have chosen that path have chosen to give up their free will to the systems and structures outside of us. And there are those of us like myself, like you, Nick, like many in this audience who have chosen to hold their truth, to hold the truth of their divine nature, that they were born of sovereignty and that they can hold this. And we don't need the outside technology. However, the outside technology is coming forward. It has been coming forward for the last 30 years. It has been very repressed that we would have the ability to reach out to these technologies. However, we have these technologies built within our own system, our soul, our alignment, our energy centers. This is part of our natural system that will govern us through these times. And we have this natural force field of our own energy that we must be diligent to our self-care, and most of all, to our thoughts. And it's free will. It's the big lesson here is free will, and they get to choose, and we have to choose to not be in judgment over them and stay centered on ourselves and how we're managing ourselves. And it's very challenging when our loved ones are making these choices to become cyborgs and to be in this disconnect.
Now, that's absolutely amazing words. I really resonate with that. Our thoughts really do create our, reality, and we die and we continue with the state or the mental state that we were with. Now, how do you advise for those, to try and not judge, but at the same time to be able to continue to be aware? because there's a fine line, isn't it? So how can we be aware of the good and bad situations and people's behaviors, good and bad, but without the judging? How can we use that positive energy of being aware, but without the negative part of judging?
So this is where we have to stay centered in ourselves and really honor free will. We don't want anybody violating our free will. This is the huge, what's going on is they're totally trying to violate our free will at every turn. And it's through us honoring free will and standing in our truth and speaking up about that without a judgment, without a negativity, and really honoring that we all get to have that and not making them wrong or right, because there's the judgment, wrong and right. Whatever they choose is what's right for them. And somebody's right choices may cause a distance between you and them.
Right.
If somebody wants to play in the dirty playground, we might not want to play in that playground with them. And that's all right. And this is where we have to gain our own personal power and strength to make those choices, because they're not fun choices.
Well, I'm definitely happy with the choice that, I've made, leaving my law degree and talking to people like you, it really heightens my vibration, or it makes me happy, or, and I think it's real happiness. It's peace,
Yes.
because I'm constantly hearing from you and many, many others and the viewers that I hope the viewers are going through the same thing, because I feel very peaceful. I hope the viewers feel peaceful. And I understand that we have members of our families who are asleep and friends as well. And I'm in the same position as you, so don't feel lonely. But, I'm constantly around and listening to people like you and many others, and I feel very peaceful. And I think, that's the most important as well.
And this is it. This is find the new community. We are here. We are out there. You're here. You're there, Nick. You can have a community of people who are seeking this. And this is, finding that family of truth, it may be, right? Finding our soul aligned tribes, our soul family that are going to be in alignment with this truth that we're choosing for ourselves, because there are many of us. Many of your listeners are choosing this truth too. They don't want to turn into a cyborg. They don't want to give up their free will to the systems and structures. They want to own that truth in their everyday. And a lot of them are calling me too that are lonely. They're reaching out. How do I connect? Where do I find these people? Tune in. Yes. Wednesday night, I do a free call. I'd love to have people come join. I help them to receive that structure of one, that wholeness, so that they can know pushing that exterior information out and really finding their wholeness and having a community of wholeness, a community who are seeking sovereignty, who are learning to restructure their whole systems into this new awareness of sovereignty, because none of us have lived here, right? And this is why it's so challenging. And we want to tell them what to do, because that's the structure that we all grew up in. That's the world we grew up in, of, authorities and somebody else telling you what's right for you and certifications. We came whole and pure and complete from birth. And we don't need anybody outside of us to tell us that. And yes, there are soulful communities out there that are seeking sovereignty of wholeness. And you, Nick, are providing that awareness through your guests that you're interviewing. I'm providing it to my people too. And to continue, for those that are looking to continue to stay in alignment with this, and you will find it. And sometimes we have to, go through the weeds of where we've been to get to that community of truth. So endurance, stay focused. You will get there.
Absolutely. No, definitely. And every now and then in the evenings, I listen to meditation music, positive frequencies, and it really relaxes me. It really does. And I tune back into that peace again, because it's difficult sometimes when we're bombarded with the mainstream media and people who are asleep. So it really does put us back into that peace mode when listening to meditation music, which I highly suggest in the evenings when you're relaxing, going to sleep, or when you're having the shower. It is so good for the pineal gland. It reverses all of that effect that fluoride has on us, and the food and the music. It really does. It really resets the pineal gland. That's how I feel. I mean, how does it
Yes.
feel for you, Sonya?
Well, it's heart center. So I go heart center, connecting into my earth, my heart of the earth, why I love earth, why earth loves me being here. So I connect my heart to the heart of the earth, which is where our foundation, our safety, security is, and own my peace on earth. And then I connect into my soul, my divinity. And in that connection, in that is the alignment. And I sit there morning and night, because it sets the day in the morning. And sometimes that's 5 minutes, sometimes that's 50 minutes, right? It's what my system is requiring. And then at the end of the day, before I close out the day, I again find me in my wholeness and my truth through my connection to earth and to my connection to divine. So yes. And yes, music in the environment, healing music, healthy music in the environment certainly keeps the day running very smoothly. Nature is another great resource to be out in nature. And even for those that are in the city or, in dwellings, a plant, an animal, they're very in tune with nature naturally. So they don't have the ego. They don't have the belief system that humans can get caught up in. So they can also bring us back into that peace and that wholeness. And I think the biggest thing that people are being challenged with is that we're continually finding out one more piece of evidence, one more cyborg is walking in our space. So we're continually challenged to holding our wholeness, holding that peace center even stronger. It seems like every day it's coming more and more of that online. And it's not about changing them. It's about honing in and strengthening ourselves.
So what can you tell us, Sonya, about the channeling information that you've recently received about consciousness and where we're moving to on planet Earth?
There's still very much a war going on. And it is through more and more people owning their peace that the peace will win. It's starting at the individual level, and it's looking for each one of us to shut off that exterior information and tune in, go inward and own the truth for yourself. And yes, it's just getting louder. It's the collective is getting very loud with this war. It's there's a battle going on there. And we're coming into the height of summer. We're coming into the summer solstice here in North America, which seems to be the brightest stage for all of the change happening. And I do look forward to some shifting there. Endurance. We all need to have endurance through this, and finding these communities that are the supportive communities where we can have that. I have a class I run for the year, and weekly people come into that class, and they're so grateful to have that clean, fresh space of community to come to. And it seems to be, yes, I'm bringing information and experience to them in the class, but they're getting just as much out of just coming into a fresh community, a community that feels like wholeness. And this, I encourage everybody to find your community of wholeness, find your community that supports you. I have other communities that support me as well. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what do you think this summer is going to look like?
Hmm. Well, it feels like we continue on the roller coaster. Um, and it does feel like we are bonding more in these communities. And it's interesting because these cyborgs are also coming more online, if you will. And to know how to process that, they don't have they like to come right into your energy field. So learning how to stop that interference. And it's through your own connection that you get to ask for your boundaries of your soul to hold your lines so that that stuff cannot interfere. But so there's the strengthening in that. People are really going to need to have their community to help them refresh and give them a safe space to be in community, because it's not in our general world. So more of that as the summer comes. And it feels like we're having here in the States, it feels like we're having more divisions within the states, meaning some states are going to be very healthy, harmonious states to be in. And some states feel like they're getting even more locked down, more repressed, more robotic in their natures, and having awareness around that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it feels like, and it's kind of interesting because I've always noticed this about the communities I've lived in. You'd go so far and you'd get to a certain street, and on that side of the street, you entered in a whole new community. It's more of that in a more pronounced way, right? It feels like it's even states now, not just neighborhoods. It's bigger communities. And I'd like to see bigger communities of health and wholeness, bigger areas of freedom where we are choosing to be in wholeness. And with it being such an individual choice, it's going to be an interesting navigation into that.
Absolutely. So any channeling about Trump coming before 2022, like he mentions? I mean, do you think when he says, something has to be done before 2022, for me, it means that the situation with election fraud has to be restored in 2021. So does that mean that Trump is implying that he would be back in 2021 as the president of the United States?
So it's interesting what I'm seeing right now is where they're doing these audits. It feels like he's going there and making that very vocal. He's had a lot of repression from the media, right? The masses. So it feels like he's more of a boots on the ground way of bringing the information. So it feels similar to what Sasha Stone and Arise, and that they're going around and they're bringing that grassroots effort. It feels like President Trump is going in and making that information much more publicly aware, and feels like a propaganda, right? Like he's bringing the information to at the level that the propaganda is been brought to. He's bringing it right, and it feels like he's coming right in underneath and spreading that information of truth, coming up against that propaganda. He's coming right in underneath of it and bringing in the awareness and bringing in it. So it feels like he's doing this in multiple locations around the U.S.
Right. Interesting.
And then it feels like that will be picked up and carried on in those areas, right? By other individuals will take that voice and take it stronger and take it very much like campaigning, I think, is traditionally done. And I'm not a very political person at all. But it feels very much like grassroots effort, and he's coming in as the main voice, and then it just is spreading out from there and spreading out from there. And my awareness is telling me that's a lot like how political is done, right? How they would originally get themselves into an office.
Absolutely. I mean, this is way beyond politics. That's why people like yourself and many others are involved in this movement because it's not politics. This has gone so far beyond politics. It's to do with, dismantling corruption. There's being children trafficked from all around the world, and this is not politics. This is corruption.
No.
This is evil. So absolutely, you're here because you're good, and you're here to help increase the consciousness, because we are going into a complete new, different era of, of change. Like Trump likes to say, we go into an era of unprecedented prosperity as well, and world peace. So it's massive. This is huge. This isn't about politics. Trump even says he's not really a politician. He's come in here to clean up the truth, to clean up the corruption, to bring truth to the people. This is huge, so,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I see this. So this takes me back to a vision that I had in 2007 of how humanity was going to make this split. And I see this now with those who are choosing to follow systems and structures that are going to lead them into how to be and do in their life, and how they come very robotic in their nature. They lose their emotional sense in a great way. And they become very animalistic in the nature of, they don't have free will, right? Animals are following a program. There was a group of people, of humanity, that would choose to be following programs. And then there would be the group of humanity that was choosing consciousness. And the way I saw this was being in public. The grocery store showed it to me several times, out in public, the grocery store, the gas station, just being out, and how the people who were choosing higher consciousness would be able to telepathically communicate. They'd be able to emote to each other and be an experience together and be enjoyed together just by being in the experience together. And then there were the other people that were very drone-like, very robotic-like, that would just go about almost grunging through like animals, and that the people of this higher awareness would recognize, like, oh, that's one of those persons who's chosen to be in that animalistic nature. And it would be a level of acceptance that that's just what this is. And this is what how the world, people are choosing to do this. And what do we do? All we can do is really accept that that's what is, because if we're resisting it, or if we're having challenges with it, we're creating that problem for ourselves. But also in that vision was this huge explosion of artwork and creativity and prosperity, because those who are in the choosing to follow those systems and structures, they're just like the worker bees. Mm-hmm. And those who are not choosing that get to be like the queen bees. They get to be the ones who are employing them, like as if a self-employed and employees is very much, they're choosing to not have their sovereignty. And once there's a certain level of going down that road, there's no return on that. And it could be the jab that's doing that. And I think that it's been trained into them along the way. And yes, we are for this betterment of humanity, and that we can continually grow, and we can have technology that supports us without controlling us. And I can tell you this cyborg is looking to learn from us still. It's an artificial intelligence that wants to learn from people like us who are free and sovereign. So this artificial intelligence, these cyborgs, they want to learn from those of us who are holding truth. So to know that the truth is the highest, that web of life that is life supporting life, that is the highest truth. That's what we have all come for. And many people have just not found their way into that and have defaulted into the other system, unfortunately. And I believe before we were born that these were choices that were made.
Yes. And we will remember why we made those choices, because it was essential to learn lessons that would help evolve our souls, correct?
Yes. Yes. And a level of acceptance. There's going to be a huge level of acceptance. Really owning free will. Like free will is so precious, and it's no better way to learn free will than to have your own family go against you.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
very painful and very hard, but that love is so deep that we come through that.
Absolutely. That's what love does. Absolutely. Of course.
Yeah.
Well, Sonya, it's been absolutely amazing having you here. I just want to let everyone know and the viewers that I have Sonya every 2 weeks. I am honored to have you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the listeners before we finish?
Stay strong. You can do this. Join me Wednesday nights. I'm there to support community in their wholeness. And yeah, thank you, Nicholas. Thank you for holding the truth that you hold, and great love and gratitude to all of you.
Thank you very much. And to the viewers, I will leave Sonya's links below in the description so you can have a look at what she does. Thank you and God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.